Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto was raised by the Inuzuka family? What misadventures could stem from such an upbringing? Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 12, Showdown at the Bridge. A small boy armed with a crossbow ran throughout the town. Upon reaching a ramshackle cottage, he began pounding at the door. Genji-san, are you there?" he cried in an urgent tone. A gruff tone came from the other side. "Inari? What do you want?" "Genji-san, Gato's men are making their move. They attacked Mom and are going to attack Grandpa at the bridge." "Go away, Inari," Genji grunted. "If we rise up against them, it's only going to make things worse." "But Genji-san Inari protested. "Beat it, kid." Dejected, Inari ran from the house, yelling over his shoulder, "If you won't help me, fine, but I'm not letting Nami down. Not now, not ever." As Genji watched the boy disappear down the road, he could not help but feel ashamed. The current state of Nami would have Kaiser rolling in his grave. Sighing, he grabbed his pickaxe and went after Inari. Naruto gulped at the sheer walls of ice mirrors. Aomaru whimpered a little. Nearby, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Sasuke were equally awestruck. "Hyotunjutsu." Hinata gasped. "But I thought only ninja from Snow Country could." "Enough talk," snapped the Hunter-nin. "You're going to die now." He suddenly vanished and reappeared in the mirrors, replicating himself. "This is such a drag," muttered Shikamaru. "I can't tell which is which." A senbon flew out from one of the mirrors, striking the unfortunate Sasuke. The Uchiha was none too pleased and retaliated. "Katon, Gokyaku no Jutsu." A giant fireball burst out from the Uchiha's lips and struck the mirrors in front of him. Sasuke smirked, but as the fire died down, so did the smirk. The mirrors were completely intact. "This special ice is resilient to heat," the Hunter-nin stated plainly. "Even the most powerful fire jutsu would have no effect." Frustrated, Sasuke growled and struck out at a mirror, hoping to dispel it. However, before his fist could connect, the Hunter-nin in the mirror shot out and flung him into Naruto and Shikamaru, knocking down all three boys like bowling pins. Byakugan activated, Hinata began to search, tracing after the chakra of the young Hunter-nin, but to no avail. The chakra seemed to be infused into the mirrors simultaneously. Familiar with the Byakugan's abilities, the Hunter-nin wasted no time in neutralizing the threat. Needles flew out from all directions towards the Hyuga. She managed to block most, however, because of a blind spot, the Byakugan's ultimate flaw. A few needles managed to break through her defense, and shut off some of her Tenketsu points, diminishing her Byakugan's field of vision. As Hinata's Byakugan efficiency decreased, so did her defense, increasing her vulnerability. Hinata. Both Naruto and Shikamaru rushed to aid their teammate, but more needles shot out of the mirrors, this time towards them. Naruto managed to evade the attack, but Shikamaru was hit. Growling, Naruto tossed a pill to Aomaru and performed the Jujin Bunshin. Unsheathing the Kodaki, he shouted, "Shikyu no Jutsu!" and jumped into the fray. It was 2 against 1 as Kakashi and Kurenai were facing off against Zabuza. With his infamous Sudanankan Jutsu combinations, the former Kiri Jonin was definitely a force to be reckoned with. To counter such a move, Kakashi and Kurenai were working in unison, via the Kopinen's Sharingan and the Genjutsu Mistress' more powerful illusions. The flow of the fight was almost formulaic. A slash of the mighty blade was parried a kunai, and supplemented by a layer of Genjutsu. Any jutsus unleashed were reflected and neutralized by Kakashi. The whole fight was a clear stalemate until Zabuza switched tactics and leapt for Kurenai. As the Kyubikri Houcho veered towards her, it was blocked off by a chakra-reinforced kunai. "Attacking women now, Momochi!" Kakashi growled, his grip on the kunai tightening. "To what depths have you sunk to?" "The kind of depth that puts bread on the table," the Kirinin retorted. "It's not any different from your job. Someone hires us, we do it, and get paid. When you come right down to it, you and I aren't that different. We're just weapons of destruction." "How dare you say that?" yelled Kurenai, hurling several shuriken towards Zabuza. Unlike you, we fight to protect, not destroy. A sudden flare of chakra and a rumbling sound caught both Kakashi and Kurenye's attention. Giant ice mirrors were appearing out of thin air, forming a dome. What is? Asked Kakashi. That. Zabuza finished, chuckling ominously. That's just my apprentice's Kekii Genkai. Those brats he's fighting are as good as dead now. Kiba, who was guarding Tajuna with Sakura, bristled at the comment. As he moved forward to lunge at the Kirinin, Kurenai stepped in, motioning to back down. He hated it, that feeling of uselessness that came when everyone was fighting for their lives, and he could not do a thing to help. Akamaru, sensing his partner's insecurities, whined piteously. Eyeing the Shiraga in Kiba's hand, Zabuza smirked beneath his bandage mask. Heh, the Shiraga, eh? That's a pretty nifty piece you got there. The legendary Kodaki of Konoha's Steel Wolf, named after his sensei, the White Fang. After I kill you all, Kyubikri Houcho'll be getting a new housemate. In your dreams. Kiba shot back. That'd be a great dream indeed. Grinned the Kirinin. Of course, that same dream would be your nightmare. He shouted, sending a Mizu Bunshin towards Kiba and Akamaru, Sakura, and Tajuna. Thinking fast, Kiba tossed a soldier pill to his canine partner and formed the Jujin Bunshin. With Akamaru guarding the bridge builder, Kiba was free to attack. Tsuga. The drilling attack dove straight for the Mizu Bunshin, but was parried by the replica Kyubikri. As the Tsuga lost its momentum, Kiba was sent flying by a sweep of the sword. Growling, he jumped for another attack, but his reflexes could not match that of the water clone. The heavy blade was now swinging towards him, death imminent as it veered closer. Doton, Dahari. Rescue came in the form of Sakura as she rushed in and stomped on the ground hard. As she did so, the section of the bridge where the Mizu Bunshin was standing suddenly spiked upwards. The abrupt movement sent the clone airborne. With the Bunshin open to attack, the odds were now in Kiba's favor. As Sakura regained her spot in defending Tajuna, Akamaru stepped up to the plate. Gatsuga. This time with the attack coming from both directions, the Mizu Bunshin finally dispelled into a burst of water. Back inside the dome, Sasuke, Shikamaru, Naruto, and Aomaru, and Hinata were still battling it out against the Hunter-nin. Senbon rained down at the Konoha-nin, painfully digging into their bodies, cutting of chakra points, and drawing blood. On a positive note, Sasuke and his newly awoken Sharingan, with some help from Hinata, had finally figured out the modus of the Makyo Hyosho. It was nothing more than a trick of light. The mirrors reflected and refracted the Hunter-nin's image in movements back and forth at what seemed to be light speed. In collaboration with Sasuke and his taijutsu, Naruto put the Inuzuka speed and Jujin and Kage Bunshins to good use by distracting the enemy and destroying the ice mirrors. At this point, the battle was finally heating up. However, they were slowing down, the enemy ninja included. Although they had managed to land a few hits onto the Hunter-nin, he had kept them on their toes by bombarding them with Senbon for the entire duration of the battle. Among the four genin, Hinata had it the worst, having been stabbed with the most needles. She finally succumbed, collapsing onto the hard concrete. Hinata! Naruto cried, running towards the fallen Hyuga. Na Naruto-kun. She whispered. I tried. I know, Hinata, I know, Naruto replied, trying to keep her within consciousness. I'm so sorry I failed. I tried so hard and I still failed. Hinata's vision began to blur. She was beginning to fade out. Hinata-chan, don't faint. Naruto shouted, shaking her. Her eyes closed. I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun. At least I tried. Until the very end. After that, she went still. Hinata-chan. Hinata? Hinata-hime. Naruto tried to revive the Hyuga but to no avail. Hinata Hyuga was dead. Like a flood, red chakra suddenly enveloped the blonde Inuzuka. His eyes were squeezed in pain as the raw energy shot through his body. When he opened them again, they were no longer the familiar azure orbs. Instead, they were almost as scarlet as Sasuke's Sharingan and had slits for pupils. The air choked with killer intent, unnerving everyone, including Zabuza. Oh no! Gasped Kurenai. Kakashi's eyes widened as memories of the Kyuubi attack invaded his subconscious. It can't be. With newfound speed, Naruto charged towards the hunter nin and drove his fist right into the enemy's face. The mask that was covering his face cracked in half to reveal Haku! Shouted Kiba in disbelief. But how? Why? If you were the hunter nin this whole time, why didn't we sense it before? I'm just a tool for Zabuza-san, the effeminate boy replied. A weapon if you will. I was told to infiltrate the Konoha group and that I did. If you did not recognize me earlier, that was because I disguised my scent and chakra signature. But why did you have to kill Hinata Hime? Naruto half growled, half wept as he unleashed his fury onto Haku. Why? I said it before and I'll say it again, I am just a tool. No, you're not. Growled the blonde Inuzuka, pulling the Koda key into position. You were our friend, and you killed Hinata Hime. You're a traitor and a murderer just like your boss. Aomaru. Let's finish this. Gatsuga. As Aomaru in Bunshin form came within Naruto's radius, the red chakra enveloped him as well, and he became even more animalistic than before. What is that, Kiba? Asked Sakura, gaping at Naruto's enraged form. Is that one of your family jutsu? I don't think so, the Inuzuka heir replied. I haven't never seen anyone in the family unleash red chakra before. Besides, it doesn't even smell like a dog. It reeks of fox. Wow, I'm impressed. Sherry non Kakashi and Devil Eyes Kurenai, Zabuza chuckled as he regained his composure. I never thought that your brats could stand up to Haku. There are many things that you don't know about our students, Momochi, retorted Kakashi. In fact, there is something even I don't know about Naruto. Who are you really, Naruto Inuzuka? Chapter 13, Liberation. Naruto's fist hit another ice mirror with brutal intensity. The fight had been going on for half an hour now, and fueled by his rage and grief, Naruto showed no sign of slowing down. After the red chakra took over, the blonde's movements seemed to have become more vicious, more savage. Very much like a demon in action. Even Aomaru was not spared from the influence of the red chakra. As it enveloped around him, the once adorable puppy was transformed into a feral, bloodthirsty cur. Just as Haku was about to escape into the adjacent mirror, he was caught by a swift, chakra-influenced punch from Naruto, rendering him defenseless. It was here that Aomaru took it as his chance to attack. He tackled and bit the effeminate boy, effectively holding him in place. Held down by the fox-like hound, Haku, for the first time in years, felt fear as the blonde Inuzuka lunged at him, intending to run him through with his Kodaki. He wouldn't. Kiba gasped. Sakura pulled her hands over her eyes. I can't watch. Horrified at the savagery of one so young, Tajuna simply stood there, mouth agape. Shikamaru inwardly shuddered. As much as he liked Haku, there was not a thing he could do. The boy was the enemy, a threat to their mission, henceforth no matter how much he mulled over the various options, Haku's death was still imminent. Sasuke smirked as he saw Naruto charge towards Haku. The raw power. He needed it. With that much power, no one could oppose him, much less the traitor who destroyed his clan. Meanwhile with the Jonin, Kurenai used her genjutsu to trap Zabuza once more, but not without cost. The ninjutsu and genjutsu battles were eating away their chakra, and if they were not careful, chakra exhaustion would rear its ugly head and claim another victim. Kai! Yelled the Kirinin. How many times do I have to tell you, Devil Eyes? Your little magic tricks don't stand a chance. Suddenly, Zabuza dropped to one knee. Ugh! Your life ends here, Momochi. Kakashi began making the hand signs to charge his signature move, as a strange chirping noise filled the air. Chidori. As the attack came down, Zabuza, in his last attempt to save his skin, used the Kabukri Houcho to block the attack. The lightning coursed through the blade, shattering it, the pieces flying in all directions, some of them hitting the Konoha Jonin. By further injuring Kakashi and Kurenai with what used to be the Kabukri Houcho, Zabuza Momochi had sacrificed his trump card. However, Zabuza's moment of glory was short-lived. The blonde, sword-wielding genin was lunging towards his apprentice with the intention of running him through. Summoning his last ounce of strength, Zabuza charged towards Haku, wrenching him away from the giant dog, only to be stabbed in the shoulder by Naruto's Kodaki. Why did you save him? Naruto growled. What is this traitor to you? Propping up the injured boy, Zabuza replied, this traitor, as you kindly put it, is not only my apprentice or a tool. He is also one of my precious people. He is a testament to the horrific bloodline purge of Kiri. It is people like him that give me the will to find a way to change our village for the better. Haku weakly looked at his master. A precious person? When was the last time he was someone's precious person? When was the last time he was of worth to someone? He could not remember. As far as he knew, not since his parents died. Just then, a clapping sound came from in the depths of the mist. Getting sentimental with the enemy now, aren't we, Momochi? Called a mocking voice. Zabuza gave a low growl. Geto. How long have you been there? The corrupt tycoon materialized from the mist accompanied by 100 rough-looking men. He gave the Kirinin a condescending look. Long enough to see you suffer defeat at the hands of women and children. Pity you and your brat didn't get killed. Had you died, it'd be one less pawn to pay. Zabuza felt white-hot rage consume his being. He was being double-crossed. Geto had no intention of paying him at all. Everything that he had done for the man had been a waste of time and effort. You. Zabuza turned to see Naruto giving Geto a look that promised murder. You're the tyrant who's been terrorizing an innocent village and impoverishing an entire country, the possessed boy growled, taking a step towards the sleazy businessman. You're the crook who would dare attack helpless women and children. You're the monster who killed Hinata Hime. You'll die now. With an anguished howl, the blonde Inuzuka and his hound charged towards Geto. Men! Shouted Geto, hiding behind his men. Protect me! Kill the old man! Kill the children! Kill them all! While the mercenaries took their sweet time to prepare, the other Konohinin began engaging in battle. Kiba had tossed several more soldier pills to Kakashi and Kurenai, before rushing into battle with Akamaru. Shikamaru took his place in guarding Tajuna, and Sakura began the task of healing some of Haku's injuries. Sasuke activated his Sharingan and began his attacks as well. But the biggest surprise of all was when Zabuza Momochi jumped into the fray. Naruto was surprised to see the former Kirinin fighting alongside him. Momochi, what are you doing? He asked as he slashed one thug. I've been double-crossed and I'm just returning the favor, Zabuza grunted as he knocked down another pair of ruffians. Besides, I have no reason to fight you anymore. In that case, you'll need this. Zabuza caught a soldier pill from Naruto's direction. You're not too bad, brat, said the Kirinin as he took the pill. If we live through this, maybe we'll laugh about it someday. The battle raged on as thugs were taken down one by one. The survivors retreated towards Geto. Fools! Yelled Geto. You outnumber them 10 to 1. Destroy them. But boss, replied one mercenary. They're too strong, we don't stand a chance. I say we get out of here. The other goons had begun to flee as well. Cowards! Geto fumed. Come back here and protect me. Zabuza made a few hand signs. Sutten, Sui Kuzeri no Jutsu. Geto found himself held down by chains made of water. Momochi, you traitor! Release me this instant. No can do, boss, Zabuza gave his former employer a sadistic smirk. He turned to Kurenai. Hey Devil Eyes, how do you make this cheapskate shut up? Kurenai gave a thoughtful look. I don't know, Momochi. How about this? Magan, Narakumi no Jutsu. Geto began writhing against his bonds as horrible images began to flood his line of vision. Looks like it's the end of the line for you, Geto. Kakashi stepped out of the mist, making hand signs. Again, the chirping noise began to fill the air. Time to end your misery. Chidori. Raw electricity plunged right through the corrupt businessman's heart, his death throes piercing the air. When it was over, Geto was no more. And that takes care of that, said the silver-haired Jonin, wiping off his bloody hand. Unbeknownst to the Kopinin, Sasuke had seen the entire move, hand signs included, with his newly activated Sharingan. So that's the potential of a Raiden Jutsu, the Uchiha chuckled darkly to himself. We did it! Kiba cheered. We finally completed our mission with no sweat. A fist connected with his head, courtesy of Shikamaru. What was that FOO? Kiba started to say, until the Nara pointed to the direction of a hunched-over Naruto weeping over the lifeless Hinata. The red chakra had disappeared as suddenly as it had come, and it was now evident as to how much stress the blonde had gone through. Kiba fell silent, his head hung down. He could not imagine what he would do if a similar scene had happened between him and Sakura, but he was sure that he would not be able to keep his sanity for long. Kakashi and Kurenai approached the scene as well. Not long after, the Konoha Sans Sasuke and Zabuza and the now healed Haku now surrounded the grieving Naruto with sorrowful expressions on their faces. The dogs howled, amplifying the somber mood. "This is all my fault," said a very remorseful Tajuna. "Hinata hime." Naruto wept. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. If could only have a second chance, I'd protect you with all my life. Even if I had to go through the fires of hell, I'll protect you no matter what." Hinata felt something wet touch her cheek. She also heard sniffling and familiar voice crying for a Hinata hime. Wasn't heaven supposed to be a place of joy? So why was someone crying? Curious, Hinata slowly opened her eyes. Naruto-kun. Hinata was truly surprised to see her teammate. Why was he with her? Did he die too? Hinata hime. You're alive. The Hyuga was suddenly crushed into a hug by a very relieved Naruto. You gave me quite a scare there, said the blonde Inuzuka, tears still streaming down his eyes. I thought I'd never see you again. Hinata felt her blood rush at the hime comment. But before she could pass out from the fact that her longtime crush was hugging her, she was brought out of her happy place by Kiba's shout of joy. She's alive. Kiba all but screamed. He grabbed Akamaru and kissed the dog. Hinata's alive. Kakashi and Kurenai smiled. Sakura rushed over and began to heal Hinata's more minor injuries. Tajuna and Shikamaru breathed out a sigh of relief, Aomaru ran towards her and licked her face, and Sasuke remained indifferent. Hinata smiled at the happy, relieved faces of her friends and Zabuza and Haku. Wait. Zabuza and Haku? She suddenly backed away from the two Kirinin. Kakashi gave the Hyuga a reassuring eye smile. Don't worry Hinata, they're on our side now. Hinata simply nodded her head. In the end, things had come to a beautiful conclusion. Geto had been taken care of, Zabuza was no longer a threat, and Wave was now free without the loss of innocent lives. It was now a week after the defeat of Geto. The remaining thugs who had fled had been rounded up by the Nami villagers led by Genji and Inari. The bridge was finally complete, and everyone, including the Konoha and Kirinin, were gathered at the bridge for the inauguration ceremony. What are we going to name it? Asked Tajuna. How about if we name it the Great Nami Bridge? Suggested one villager. That will never do, argued Genji. The crowd broke into a hushed argument of what the bridge would be named until Inari broke the silence. What if we name it the Bridge of Heroes in honor of Kaizatusan, Naruto-Nisan, and all the brave shinobi and kunoichi for inspiring us to fight for our freedom? That's a great idea, said one man. Not too shabby, replied a woman. I like it, quipped Genji with a grin. One by one, the villagers agreed with Inari's suggestion. Voices rose from the crowd once more, pushing for the name. Then it's settled, Tajuna said. Smashing a new bottle of sake on the main post, he declared, from now on, this bridge will be known as the Yushin no Hashi. The crowd erupted into a roaring cheer and the ninja's responses had been fairly amusing. Naruto flashed his $1,000,000 smile and Kiba was showing off. Hinata blushed and twiddled her fingers, and Kakashi, Kurenai, and Sakura smiled and waved. Inner Sakura was now doing a victory dance, screeching booyah. Sasuke smirked, Shikamaru gave a lazy smile, and the dogs yipped like crazy. Zabuza and Haku were dumbfounded. It was strange to have such a large number of people accept them after all that they had done. The reception followed the inauguration soon after. There was food and dancing and everyone had a great time, and Kakashi won a drinking contest between Tajuna and Zabuza, only to receive the hangover of the century the next day. Very soon, it was now time for the Konoha to go home. Zabuza and Haku stayed to help rehabilitate Nami and establish its first ninja academy by the time they received proper funding. Zabuza also managed to salvage the pieces of the Kabukri Haucho and had taken it to a blacksmith to be reshaped. The sword was guaranteed to be as good as new after its repairs. Goodbye. Goodbye. Till we meet again. With grateful hearts and smiles, the residents of Nami bid the Konohinin their farewell. Inari ran to Naruto, unshed tears glimmering in his eyes. I'm going to miss you, Nisan, he said, embracing the blonde. I'm going to work hard to be strong and I won't be a crybaby anymore. When we meet again, I hope I'll meet up to your expectations. Naruto grinned and ruffled the younger boy's hair. I'll hold you to that, kid. Haku came up next, and shook hands with Naruto and Hinata. I hope you have no hard feelings after all that happened. Had I known we were going to be double-crossed, we wouldn't have. Naruto gave him another foxy grin. No sweat, man. Just help these good folk get back up on their feet and we'll call it even. Hinata cut him short. It's okay, Haku-kun. We understand. We all pulled through and that's all that matters. Lastly, Zabuza had removed his mouth wrappings, flashed Naruto a toothy grin and a thumbs up. Yeah, got guts, kid. I like that. I'm expecting great things from you in the future. And between us swordsmen, you and your brother have two very special Kodakais there. Do take care of them. Naruto smiled and nodded before running off to join the others. Looking at the Bridge of Heroes for one last time, the Konohinin smiled before heading off home. Chapter 14, Ino's Brother. The Konohinin were finally home. The trip back was rather uneventful unless one counted Shikamaru getting seasick all over again, and the minor scuffles between Naruto, Kiba, and Sasuke. It usually began with Kiba saying something, and Naruto telling him that it was wrong. Then Kiba would lose his temper and begin fighting with his brother. This was followed by Sasuke throwing a few barbs about the Inuzuka brothers and said brothers turning against him. It usually took a grown-up to break up the altercations, although Hinata and Sakura also did their part. Shikamaru, after all, was too queasy to get involved. Upon entering Konoha, the Jonin senseis dismissed their charges and rest up while they filed their reports to the Hokage. Shikamaru was never happier to hear the word rest, and he ran off home with a hurried later, surprising the others as no one had ever seen him move so fast. Naruto, Kiba, Hinata, and Sakura exchanged their goodbyes and left for their respective homes, and Sasuke simply grunted and walked away, leaving Kakashi and Kurenai to Shunshin off to the Hokage Tower. You did what? Tsume's voice practically rocked the foundations of the Inuzuka clan house after hearing the events that transpired in her son's mission. Hana tried to pacify her hyperventilating mother. Mom. Calm down. I will not clam down, raged Tsume. When I go to the Hokage Tower, I'm going to give that old coot a little talk about genin safety. Imagine, an B-rank mission. Better yet, I'm going to Nami and hunt down that client. What was he thinking, lying like that? Hana paled at the words, a little talk. In Tsume's dictionary, a little talk was synonymous to a sermon that would make Yoshino Nara blush. If Tsume was going to give the Hokage a little talk, Sarutobi was better off retired. This time Kiba intervened. But Mom. We came back in one piece. Aren't you glad to see that we're safe and sound? That's beside the point. Tsume snapped. The thing is, you were given a B-rank mission that was disguised as a C-rank. Not to mention that you faced off a missing nin with a rep almost as bad as Kakashi's. Safe and sound you say? What about your friend Hinata? Didn't you say she was almost killed? When Hayashi hears about this, he'll probably put his daughters in house arrest for the rest of their lives. Hana pulled her brothers aside. You guys better go to bed for now. Looking at their ranting mother, she sighed. This may take a while. Tsume did eventually calm down, and although she was still sour about the B-rank issue, she was proud that her boys had managed to complete a high-priority mission at such a young age. After breakfast, the Inuzuka brothers and their dogs decided to take a stroll into town. It was a nice day, and there were no missions or training that day. Suddenly, they heard a very familiar voice calling out to them. Naruto. Kiba. You gotta see this. The Inuzukas turned around to see Sakura running towards them, huffing and puffing. "Whoa Sakura! Where's the fire?" Naruto asked. "Yeah Sakura, what's the rush?" Kiba asked, concerned. Sakura wheezed. "I was passing by at Ino's and I." "You what?" Naruto asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. Sakura paused for a while and caught her breath. "I saw another Ino. I was passing by the shop when I saw Ino talking to another Ino." Whoa, hold up," said Kiba, raising his hands. "How can there be another Ino? We only know one Ino, and I'm pretty sure she could have just made a bunshinjutsu." Sakura shook her head. "No way. One more thing about this other Ino is that she has a deep voice very much like that of a man." "Seriously?" Naruto asked eagerly. "What are we standing around here for? Let's go to Ino's and see the second Ino." "Hey forward! Naruto! Kiba! There you are!" Everyone turned around to see Ino running up to them, flailing her arms madly. "Or we could just stay right here," Kiba snorted. "Hi Ino, Kiba, Sakura, and Naruto greeted. "Hi guys." Ino chirped. "I'd like you to come to the shop for a while. You're not going to make us haul fertilizer sacks again, are you?" Kiba asked, cringing a little. "I couldn't get the smell out of my nose for weeks." Ino giggled. "No silly. I want you to meet someone. Come on." The group hurried off to the shop to find the other members of Rookie 9's Sasuke already there. Hinata's cousin Neji was there as well. "I found the others." Ino beamed. "Now come on in. There's someone I'd like you to meet." As the gang entered the shop, they were greeted by a friendly voice. "Hello, Un. Welcome to Yamanaka's Flowers. How may I help you, Un?" Everyone but Shino and Choji's jaw dropped at the sight. The speaker was an androgynous blonde boy with a hairstyle similar to that of Ino and her father's. He wore a Konoha forehead protector around his head and the standard Chunin flak vest over his mesh shirt. Who is he?" Naruto asked, regaining his composure. "Guys, this is my half-brother Deidara," said Ino, gesturing to the newcomer. "Deidara, you've met my teammates, Choji and Shino, right?" The older blonde nodded. "Well, these are my other friends." She pointed to the pink-haired girl. "This is my friend Sakura." "Hello," smiled the addressed girl. "The Hyuga cousins Hinata." Ino introduced, pointing to the girl, who waved her hand shyly. "And Neji," she gestured towards the serious boy, who acknowledged the newcomer with a nod. "My very good friend, Shikamaru." "EY," greeted the pineapple-haired genius. "And last, but not least, the Inuzuka brothers Kiba and Naruto," said Ino, finishing the introductions with a smile. "Yo!" the brothers greeted in unison. Deidara grinned. "Nice to meet you all, Un. This is unbelievable!" Kiba exclaimed. The others looked at him strangely. "What is?" asked Choji. "Ino has a long-lost brother." Kiba yelled. "Oh great, what's next? I bet Shikamaru'll tell us that Iruka-sensei is a long-lost member of the Nara clan." Kiba was promptly elbowed by Naruto and Sakura. "Be polite," Sakura hissed. Turning to Deidara, she smiled. "I'm sorry. My friend's a little rude, don't mind him." "It's okay, Un," Deidara assured her. "My sister's initial reaction was none too polite either." Ino whined. "Hey, don't look at me, Un," said Deidara, putting his hands up in a defensive manner. "I only say as I saw M." As Deidara's hands came up, the genin saw that each hand had a mouth on it. As always, Kiba spoke up first. "Dude, that's sick," he exclaimed, pointing to the hand mouths. This time Kiba was greeted by a slap to the head, courtesy of Naruto. "Ihiha." Naruto laughed sheepishly. "Please excuse my brother. He really doesn't know when to shut up." Neji was next to speak. "So Deidara-san, where are you from? Judging from those things on your hands, I would say it's a Kekii Genkai found only within the family of the third Tsuchikage." You're not a leaf nin by birth, are you? And Neji-san? Hinata gasped. Neji Hyuga, what a question. Ino squawked, offended by Neji's question. It's alright, replied Deidara. You're right, I'm not from Konoha. But my father is. Those in the room gasped at the statement. During the last leg of the Third Shinobi War, my mother, who was the daughter of the third Tsuchikage, was captured by Leaf Nin. Soon afterward, she fell in love with one of her jailers, a man named Inoichi Yamanaka. They had an affair, and here I am, a testament of what happened that night. After the war, my mother was released and I was born into the Tsuchikage's clan. However, many in the clan did not acknowledge me because I was only half Iwa. The villagers hated my mother and me because of my father. The only ones who actually loved me were my mother and grandfather, the Tsuchikage. After my mother's recent death, I was transferred here as part of the Iwa-Konoha peace treaty 2 weeks ago, but I think grandfather was just trying to protect me from the village and decided to send me to live with my other parent. Everyone was rather shell-shocked. What a tragic story, Sakura remarked. Yes it is, Deidara replied, bowing his head. However, he cheered up once more. But everything's okay now, I got to meet my father and his clan, and everyone's nice to me, even my stepmother. Hey Ino, I've been meaning to ask, Sakura whispered to her friend. Why wasn't your mom mad when she found out about Deidara? Ino gave thought for a while before responding in an equally hushed tone. Well, this stuff happened before my mom met my dad, so I guess it's all water under the bridge. Besides, she chuckled. Mom's always wanted a son. It's good to know the villagers weren't being too troublesome, Shikamaru stated. I'm glad you like Konoha. Yeah, Naruto chirped, shaking Deidara's hand mouths and all. Welcome to Konoha. The 9 genin spent the entire morning in the flower shop, talking with Deidara and getting to know him better. All in all, Deidara was a fairly decent fellow and Ino liked him, so there was no trouble with getting the others to like him too. It had been funny when the male Yamanaka had been introduced to Akamaru and Aomaru. The dogs had licked the Cyclopean blonde only to be licked back by one of the hand-mouths. The dogs were a bit freaked out and Deidara's hand-mouth ended up spitting out little bits of hair. All in all, everyone had an enjoyable stay at the Yamanakas. As lunch hour came around, it was imperative that they had to leave. Bye Ino, bye Deidara, waved teams 7, 8, and Shino, Choji, and Neji. It was nice meeting you. Walking down the street, they decided to stop by at Ichiriku's for lunch. Naruto ordered 1 miso and 1 pork ramen. Kiba, Shikamaru, and Choji each ordered beef, while Sakura, Hinata, and Neji ordered chicken. Shino got pork as well. So what did you think of Deidara? Naruto asked between mouthfuls. Why, you like him? Kiba teased. Hinata bristled at Kiba's little joke on Naruto being gay. Naruto growled at his brother. Shut up. You know what I'm talking about. Besides, there's a girl I already like. Who is it? Kiba prodded. Do I know her? Is she nice? Is it Hinata? It's Hinata, isn't it? Naruto gave his brother another right good slap on the head. Oh, shut up. It's none of your business. For your information, Hinata Hime is just one of my best friends. Shikamaru did something very un-Shikamaru-like and joined in the teasing. Then why do you keep calling her Hime? Last time, I checked, you can only call a girl Hime if 1, she's a real princess, or 2, if you really, like her. Naruto looked at Hinata. The Hyuga was redder than a tomato and rightly so. Seeing the blushing Hyuga made Naruto blush as well. Going back to Deidara, please. He growled, rather embarrassed. He's alright, Shino replied. Although he has quite a bit of a temper. Seriously? Kiba asked. He seemed pretty mellow to me. Trust me, said Choji. He has a temper. The first time I met him, I thought he was a girl, and he ended up yelling at me, I'm a boy, UN. Then he made me haul fertilizer sacks for the rest of the day. It took a couple more days before he forgave me completely. At least, now I know where Ino's temper comes from. Naruto gave a low whistle. Wow. Remind me to never get on their bad side. See, Shikamaru pointed out. This is why I don't like girls. They're too troublesome. Neji finished. We know. Well, I think Deidara seems sweet, Sakura remarked. If I didn't already like someone, I'd be on to him for sure. I know. When we're not busy, let's hook him up with someone. He does deserve some love after all. Kiba shook his head. Sakura, you're such a flirt. Sakura glared at her teammate. Yeah, well, takes one to know one. Oh, burn. Naruto and Choji laughed. Shikamaru and Shino choked on a chuckle, and Neji smirked. Even Hinata sweet, gentle Hinata giggled. Kiba huffed and closed his mouth. After the laughter died down, the group went back to discussing about Deidara's potential girlfriend. How about Ayame-san? Hinata suggested. She's nice, cheerful, and gentle. Ayame chuckled as she set down another bowl of miso ramen in front of Naruto. Sorry sweetie, but Deidara's not my type. The way I see it, he'd be better off with Hana-chan. At this, Naruto and Kiba broke out laughing. Hana-chan? As in our sister Hana. Ayame nodded and the boys laughed even harder. Coincidentally, Hana Inuzuka was passing by Ichiraku's when she heard the raucous laughter. Curious, she found her two brothers laughing. Approaching them, she was surprised that they had not sensed her, but their companions had. I could just imagine Deidara going out with Hana, laughed Naruto. That'd be the day. Hana glared at her brother. Everyone in Ichiraku's could feel the killer intent radiating off the eldest Inuzuka sibling. Yeah, I know, Kiba snorted. When they get together, maybe she'll stop acting so snooty. At this, the Inuzuka brothers resumed their laughing fit. A tick formed on Hana's temple. Her brothers thought she was snooty? Oh, they were dead. Kiba-kun, Naruto-kun. Hinata seemed more nervous than usual. Guys. Choji had lost his appetite at the insane amount of killing intent Hana was emitting. What? Kiba asked, annoyed. Shikamaru simply pointed at the direction behind the brothers. Naruto, ever the smart aleck, answered this time. Hana's behind us, isn't she? The others could only nod dumbly. Kiba, Naruto said calmly. I think it's time to run. Both boys ran out of the shop, chased by a furious Hana screaming about someone getting fixed. Chapter 15, Spies and Secrets. Kiba grinned at the people gathered before. All the genin who went to the mission at Nami, with the exception of Naruto and Hinata, were currently in the Inuzuka brothers' old tree house. Taking the place of the absent Hinata was Neji. The treehouse used to be the childhood hangout of the Inuzuka brothers' inner circle of male friends. However, due to the emergence of puberty, the treehouse had become a bit cramped, as they sat cheek to jaw. Not to mention that the "no girls allowed" sign that Kiba had neglected to remove had offended Sakura to a certain degree. Good people of Team 8 and Neji, Shikamaru began, standing right next to Kiba. We are gathered here today to investigate the mystery of the red chakra we saw at Nami. That's good and all, replied Sakura. But where's Naruto and Hinata? Shouldn't they be here? They were at Nami too. True, said Kiba, answering for the Nara. But we know that Naruto was not aware that he was leaking the red chakra, and Hinata was unconscious at the moment. However, she has been filled in about the red chakra, courtesy of Shikamaru and yours truly, so we had her take Naruto out for a little alone time. That explains the absence of your brother and Hinata, Sasuke drawled. But what about Hyuga over here? He asked, jabbing his thumb at Neji's direction. He wasn't there. Neji gave the Uchiha an icy look before answering him. As my cousin is with Naruto, it has decided that I will take her place as the Byakugan for this task. That's right, said Shikamaru. With the absence of Hinata, Neji will be her substitute and will keep an eye on things. Pulling out a map, he continued, to begin our investigation, I have pinpointed several places where we might be able to get information on the red chakra. Kiba looked at the map, which was now dotted with 2 red X's. The hotspots were the Academy Library and the archives at the Hokage Tower. Dibs on the Hokage Tower. He yelled. And Sakura's with me? Everyone flinched at the volume of his tone. I'm going to the Hokage Tower too, Neji remarked. Someone has to keep a sharp eye out for something. And what is that supposed to mean? Asked Kiba and Sakura, both somewhat offended. Troublesome, grumbled Shikamaru. I suppose that means Sasuke and I are going to the academy. Kiba could barely contain his excitement. Okay then, let's go, let's go, let's go. Shaking their heads, his companions eventually split up towards their respective destinations. Shikamaru and Sasuke were currently leafing through some old books and newspaper clippings at the academy library, without finding anything of relative significance. Suddenly, Shikamaru struck gold. He called Sasuke over and the two boys looked at the newspaper clipping that lay before them. The clipping revealed a picture of the aftermath of the Kyuubi attack. That date shown above read October 11th. October 11th? Then that meant that the Kyuubi attack occurred on October 10th, 12 years ago. Naruto's birthday was on October 10th. Coincidentally, Naruto was the only child in the village with that birth date. Could it be? Was Naruto the fox in human form? But it couldn't be. Although Shikamaru had heard the old-timers say that during the attack, there was red chakra coming from the Kyuubi, it had been stated that the historical records that the Yondaime had killed the fox, and therefore Naruto could not be the fox. The fox was dead. If the fox was dead, then Naruto could not be the fox. That was the most sensible answer there was. Shikamaru frowned. The stories were not making sense. The fox was dead, and yet Kiba said that the aura Naruto had emitted at Nami reeked of fox. Naruto was an Inuzuka. He was supposed to reek of dog, not fox. He could only conclude one thing: a conspiracy. There had to be a conspiracy. But what did it have to do with Naruto? Turning to the Uchiha, he found the boy's lips drawn into a grim line. Although it was nothing new, Shikamaru Nara knew better. Sasuke was just as perplexed. Kiba, Sakura, and Neji were currently inside the public archive section of the Hokage Tower library. This is lame, Kiba grumbled. We've been here for 2 hours, and we've found nothing on red chakra. Oh, do be quiet, Sakura admonished. You're the one who was most curious about the red chakra in the first place. Maybe we're approaching this the wrong way, said Neji as he leafed past another book on chakra theory. Kiba, Sakura, was there anything else besides the red chakra? The room was silent as Kiba and Sakura thought hard for a while. The silence was broken when Kiba suddenly snapped his fingers. I remember now, foxes. Neji raised an eyebrow. I beg your pardon. During the fight, as Naruto was emitting the red chakra, I remember the red chakra having a distinct smell similar to that of a fox. That's right. Sakura agreed. You did say that. Neji smirked. Now we're getting somewhere. And I think I just know which fox to find. Who? Kiba asked dumbly. Sakura's sweat dropped. She had no idea how Kiba could be so alert, and yet so clueless at the same time. Isn't it obvious? She sighed exasperatedly. Who else, but the Kyuubi? Kiba looked at Sakura if she had grown a second head. What are you talking about? He asked. The Kyuubi is dead, everyone knows that. Even little kids know that. Maybe that's what they want us to think, said Neji as he pulled out a copy of the newspaper that Sasuke and Shikamaru read at the academy. Look at the date of this paper and tell me what you see. Kiba squinted at the grainy photograph. The village looks like a twister hit it, but I don't see anything else. Exactly. Kiba looked up. What do you mean? There's no body. Sakura guessed. Neji smirked again. Bingo, but there's more. Check the date of the paper. Sakura frowned. I don't see what that has to. Oh my god. October 11. Sakura sputtered. But that's right after Naruto's, you don't suppose? No, Kiba growled. Sakura looked at her teammate. What do you mean no? There is no way Naruto can be that fox. That thing was evil. Thanks to that monster, Naruto and I will never know what it's like to have a dad. Besides, he grinned with feral resolve. If Naruto was evil, and the fox, we wouldn't even be standing here right now. After looking at all the clues, the outlook had left Kiba, Neji, and Sakura more confused than ever. The clues led to the fox, but Naruto was not the fox. Now the question remained, who or what was Naruto? As they walked down the hall, Kiba saw his mother enter the Hokage's office looking somewhat stressed. A stressed Tsuma meant that there was something going on, and if she was going to see the Hokage, it had to be something big. Fortunately, whatever was bothering Tsuma was able to distract her from seeing her son and his companions. Motioning for Sakura and Neji to follow him, the Inuzuka heir crept towards the door and cocked his ear to it. He could hear the faint voices of his mother, the Hokage, and Kakashi and Kurenai-sensei? What was going on? Hey Neji, can you read lips? Whispered Kiba. The Hyuga nodded and activated his Byakugan. Sakura set up a cloaking genjutsu so that they would not be caught eavesdropping and stuck her ear to the door as well, listening to the hushed voices behind it. In the Hokage's office, Tsuma was surprised to see Kakashi and Kurenai with the Hokage as well. There was only one thing that ran through her mind. What did those pups do now? If I hear that those boys have been misbehaving, oh, there'll be hell to pay. Tsuma, Sarutobi started in a serious tone. I want to talk to you about Naruto's actions during his mission at Nami. The Inuzuka matriarch flinched. What did the runt do? Upon seeing the trace of worry in Tsume's expression, the Sandaime's visage eased up a bit. Actually, there's nothing wrong with your son's behavior. It's just that in his sensei's mission reports, it was stated that there were sightings of red chakra. Tsume paled. Red chakra. That meant. Lord Hokage, she replied with the utmost respect. As a mother, I feel that it is unwise to simply keep Naruto's secret between us. I suppose it would be for his best interest if his senseis were let in the loop as well. Sarutobi chewed on the end of his pipe thoughtfully. I believe that is the case too. Turning to Kurenai and Kakashi, he began, listen you two, what you are about to hear is an S-class secret, so I expect that you won't repeat this to anyone else. Outside, Kiba's eyes widened as he heard the words, S-class secret, Kyubei, Jinhiraki, Yondaime Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, and son. Neji, who read the lips, was just as shocked, as was Sakura. Hearing enough, the three genin scrambled out before someone caught them eavesdropping. As soon as they were at a safe distance away from the Hokage Tower, they knew it now was safe enough to talk. It's just as I thought, Neji gasped lowly. The Kyuubi lives on. What do we do? Sakura asked. Nothing, Kiba whispered harshly. While it was common knowledge that Naruto was not a blood Inuzuka, it never occurred to Kiba that his brother was the Yondaime's son and had the world's most powerful Byakugan sealed within him. We act as if we never heard any of this. Sakura frowned. Kiba. Aren't you even bothered by all this? Of course I am, but what do you mean to do? Kiba shot back. Walk up to him and say, hey Naruto, guess what? Not only are you adopted, but that thing that killed your folks is actually locked up within you. That monster killed my dad, but it killed both his parents. My mother was kind enough to take him in and raise him as one of us, and that's what I'm going to do. Related or not, Kyuubi jailer or not, Naruto is still an Inuzuka and my brother. But what do we tell the others? Sakura asked. Don't breathe a word about this to Naruto or Team 10, commanded Kiba. I think it's safe to relay this to Shika and Hinata under an oath of secrecy, but I think we should keep Sasuke out of the loop. Why? This time it was Neji. Trust me, if the Uchiha Teme gets wind about this, things won't be pretty. For now, let's just keep this as our S-class secret. Agreed. Neji and Sakura nodded. Agreed. Back at the Hokage Tower, the real Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled down at the crystal ball. The Sarutobi who'd been talking to Kakashi, Kurenai, and Tsuma had been a clone. The real deal had seen everything the genin had been up to, observing their reactions. After all that had happened that day, he swelled with pride to see them do the right thing. It was apparent that the will of fire burned brightly in them all. Chapter 16, New Friends and Teachers. Naruto, Kiba, and their dogs were currently at Team 7's meeting place waiting for Kakashi. They had been waiting for over an hour. Fortunately, Naruto had brought a frisbee and the Inuzuka quartet were currently engaged in a rather wholesome game of four-way fetch. What do you think that weirdo wants? Kiba asked as he tossed the flying disc towards Aomaru. Who knows? Naruto snorted. Once he made us wait for 3 hours just to inform us that we didn't have a mission that day. Speaking of the devil, there was a puff of smoke as the ever-late Jonin-sensei arrived, his nose buried in his adult novel. Yo! He greeted. You're late. Naruto and Kiba yelled. The nindogs growled in annoyance. Sorry about that, Kakashi apologized. I was on my way here when. Oh, forget it. Naruto growled in frustration. I've read fairy tales that made more sense than your excuses. Anyway, I have some exciting news. Kakashi announced, his visible eye still scrunched up into an upside-down U. Do you remember our training session at Nami? The Inuzuka brothers nodded vigorously. As promised, I've found 2 perfect senseis to help you with your wind training and Kenjutsu practice. Meet me at Training Ground 19, said the Jonin as he shunshined away in a swirl of leaves. The Inuzuka brothers gave each other a look before simultaneously shrugging and heading off to Training Ground 19 with their dogs. Upon arrival, they found Kakashi standing with 2 other men dressed in the standard shinobi uniform. The first man was tan, bearded, had bluish-black hair, and was smoking a cigarette. The other was pale and had stringy brown hair. Glad you made it, said Kakashi. Here are the senseis I'm recommending for your specialty training. I assume you already know Team 10's Asuma Sarutobi. The brothers nodded, acknowledging the man. And of course, this other guy beside me is Umbu's very own dancing blade Hayate Gekao. Asuma-san will be teaching you some wind jutsus and Hayate-san will help you with your Kenjutsu. I wish you guys good luck with your training. And again the silver-haired genius disappeared in a whirl of leaves, leaving the brothers and their dogs with their temporary senseis. Under Asuma and Hayate, the Inuzuka brothers underwent a new training method called tag teaching. Asuma would teach one brother the wind jutsus while Hayate sparred with the other in Kenjutsu, using the traditional bukin, for safety purposes. When the boys had mastered the technique taught by their respective sensei, they would switch instructors, learning twice the jutsu in half the time. Under Asuma, the boys learned 3 new B and C class wind jutsus including the Futon, Ronkyudan, Trans, Wind Release, Drilling Air Bullet, Futon, Kaze no Yoroi, Trans, Wind Release, Armor of Wind, C-class jutsu that surrounded the user with powerful winds that also served as a cushion for blows, and the B-rank Futon, Senpyu, Trans, Wind Release, Whirlwind. Hayate taught Kiba and Naruto some basic Kenjutsu moves including Kenjutsu, Dangan, Trans, Weapon Art, Bullet, and some of the moves from his patented Mikazuki no Mai, Trans, Dance of the Crescent Moon. Naruto, Asuma sighed, resisting the urge to rub at his temples. These are the only Futon jutsu someone of your level can handle at the moment. I've already taught you all that I can. But you gotta have something, begged the blonde. Anything. Please Asuma-sensei. Please. All right, said the Hokage's son. Imagine 2 currents of wind, blowing in opposite directions. They push past each other, sharpening them both into fine points. Wind chakra can't flow around, it has to cut. Nodding confidently, Naruto began practice his wind jutsu. On his 3rd attempt, he finally managed to create a Ronkyudan. Granted, the wind bullet was bit on the small side, but it was a Ronkyudan nonetheless. I did it! Naruto cheered, pumping his fist. Good work, lil bro. Course, mine practically destroyed that tree over there, Kiba bragged, grinning proudly. I'm already on the 2nd jutsu. Not for long, Naruto replied. I'm gonna beat you so hard, you won't know what hit you. Sides I'm better than you at Kenjutsu. You won't be if you don't come over here and start practicing, Hayate admonished quietly. Kiba snickered as the humbled blonde ran towards the senior swordsman. All right Naruto, in guard, said Hayate, preparing a stance. Well, here goes, said Naruto. Yah! He charged towards Hayate, only to have the bukin knocked out of his hands and cold wood touch his throat. Speed is more important than some flashy technique, Hayate warned. Let's practice that first. And then we'll work on some techniques after lunch. Understood. Naruto nodded meekly. Yes sir. The tag teaching worked well, both brothers learning everything they were taught, advancing with leaps and bounds. Soon after, Asuma's repertoire of futon jutsu had exhausted, leaving it to Hayate to finish up the combat training. Aside from this, he also told the boys of an ancient, yet effective kenjutsu style called the Hiten Mitsuragi. When Naruto asked the kenjutsu master if he could teach it to them, Hayate coughed and simply said he couldn't. But why? Kiba felt like crying. He shifted into the puppy dog pout mode. Don't ya like us? Hayate frowned at Kiba's act. Kiba, it's not that I don't want to teach you. It's because I can't teach you. The Hiten Mitsuragi style has been lost for centuries. However, he added, noting the brothers' downcast expressions. There is one style that is a bit like the bastardized version of the Hiten Mitsuragi. They call it the Ryu no Mai, the Dragon's Dance, and I am more than willing to teach you its basic forms. The first step is. Training was finally over and Kiba slumped down onto the ground, gasping a lot like Akamaru on a hot day. Bah, that was tiring. He wheezed. Looking at Naruto, he noticed that the blonde was still training and not the least bit tired, though his canine partner, in Bunshin form, was huffing and puffing. Hey Naruto, can we do something else? Kiba yelled over to his brother. The blonde frowned at his brother. Oh alright, he grumbled, picking up his things. Aomaru reverted into his true form, giving the brunette a grateful yip. As they walked down the street, they ran into the familiar figures of Shikamaru and Hinata stepping out of Yamanaka's flowers. Waving at their friends, the brothers invited the Nara and the Hyuga to the dango shop for a quick snack. After a long day of training, a snack of dango and tea was a welcome treat. Like Anko, Shikamaru was to dango as what Naruto was to ramen. It had been interesting to watch the Nara inhale stick after stick of dango. Naruto was talking to Hinata who simply blushed and nodded, while Kiba was quiet for once and watched Shikamaru with morbid fascination. A yell of surprise suddenly broke the quiet atmosphere in the restaurant. Hey! I know you! You're Naruto and Inuzuka. The genin looked down to see a trio starstruck children looking at Naruto. The group was composed of a brown-haired boy with a scarf, a runny-nosed boy with glasses, and a little red-haired girl in a constant state of blush, each one sporting a pair of green goggles perched on top of their heads. The dogs cocked their heads at the new arrivals and looked at their Inuzuka partners, as if to look for answers. Naruto stared down at the youngsters. The one with the scarf seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember why. Swallowing down his dango, he asked, "Who the heck are you?" "Mogi Yudiden, the sassiest kunoichi in Konoha," said the girl, striking a pose. The bespectacled boy jumped up next. "One who's good with numbers udon mito kato. And Konoha's next Hokage Kano Amaru Sarutobi," yelled the scarf-clad boy. "Together, we're the Kano Amaru Corps," the trio yelled in unison. At this, Naruto's eyes widened. The hair, the face, the expression, he knew he had seen it somewhere before. It was on a picture of the Sandaime when he was younger. "You're the Sandaime's grandson, aren't you?" he asked. "And by chance, are your friends the grandchildren of the Sandaime's teammates council members, Homura Mito Kato and Koharu Yudiden?" Kano Amaru gave him a cocky grin. "Got it in one," he said with a thumbs up. "He knows who we are." Mogi squealed excitedly. "He really is Rookie of the Year." "You What is that you want with Naruto-kun?" asked Hinata. Mogi squealed again. "You're Hinata Hyuga. You were a shoo-in for Kunoichi of the Year. You're my role model." The Hyuga staggered, nearly passing out from the amount of praise she was receiving. Fortunately, Naruto caught her. "What's wrong with her?" asked Udon. "Nothing," yawned Shikamaru, knowing it was a recurring experience. "She's just modest. That's all." Naruto was trying his best to calm his teammate. Aomaru rubbed his shaggy head against her leg, doing his share to comfort his partner's friend. "Take it easy, Hinata Hime," he cooed in a soothing voice. The young Sarutobi looked at the blonde Inuzuka with awe and wonder. "Wow boss, you're really awesome." You're already cool and you have a pretty girlfriend. Could this day be any better? To say Naruto was red in the face would have been an understatement. The boy's face was redder than the surface of Mars and Jupiter combined. The others could have sworn they saw smoke come out of his ears. Kiba was laughing like a loon, and the dogs were sharing a knowing look. This time, Hinata did faint, and Shikamaru had to assist Naruto in reviving the fallen Hyuga. 15 minutes and a couple of bumps on Konohamaru later, the group was now walking back towards training ground 19. Why are we here again? Kiba grumbled. Akamaru voiced his displeasure in a series of whines and growls. Because this is a great place to entertain our fans without someone butting in, Naruto answered. Correction, replied Kiba. They're your fans, not mine. So far, Scruffy over there. He pointed to Konohamaru. Practically worships you. Hinata is that little girl's idol, he pointed to Mogi. And Poindexter over yonder. He pointed to Udon. Won't stop challenging Arshika to a game of shogi. Naruto scowled. That's not true. Turning to the Konohamaru Corps, he asked. Hey kids, do you know what Kiba-Nissan was famous for? The children's brows furrowed in concentration for a moment. Just then Udon snapped his fingers. I got it. I remember you now. You're that Kiba Inuzuka kid who held the record for most pranks pulled on teachers. Iruka-sensei still gets the heebie-jeebies every time someone puts an apple on his desk. Oh yeah. Konohamaru cheered. You're one of the prankster kings of Konoha along with Naruto-Nissan. Wicked eh? We're actually meeting Academy legends. Nyahahaha. Laughed Kiba. I can't believe I'm actually that famous. You're right Naruto. I'm awesome. But aren't you also the same Kiba who holds the most number of detentions? Mogi asked pensively. Kiba's ego balloon deflated. Okay, enough of making fun at Kiba's expense, Naruto intervened for his brother. What do you kids really want to talk to us about? Konohamaru stepped forward. We want to know we could become great ninjas, so we decided to ask the best. Hinata blushed at the thought of being one of the best, but Shikamaru was not convinced. Why? He asked, eyebrows raised. So I could defeat my grandpa and become Hokage. Konohamaru declared, puffing out his chest. Well get in line, kid. Naruto grinned. 'Cause I'm gonna make Hokage first. Looking at Udon and Mogi, he asked, what about you two? We want to step out of our grandparents' shadows, the two complained angrily. It's always look. It's the honorable grandchildren, and pay your respects to the honorable grandchildren. People don't see us for who we are and always suck up to us. It's sickening. It's high time we show them who we really are. So are you going to help us or not? I see. Mused Shikamaru. And to answer your question, no. What do you mean? Konohamaru yelled angrily. I'm sorry, said Hinata, trying to soften the blow. If we help you, we would only worsen the situation. Please elaborate, said Udon, wiping his nose. Look at it like this. Shikamaru explained. You want to be different, right? The Konohamaru Corps nodded, resulting in a smirk from the Nara air. There you have it, how can you make a statement if you are only going to copy someone else? I agree with Shikamaru and Hinata. Said Naruto. We are where we stand today because of the effort we used to achieve our goals. If you want to surpass your grandparents, you'll have to work hard to do that. Remember, there is no shortcut to greatness. The Konohamaru Corps looked at the ground, pondering on those words. Finally looking up to their older counterparts, they shouted in unison, we'll take your advice, but from now on, we're rivals. This we swear. Naruto, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Kiba gave each other a look. Finally, Naruto replied. I'll hold you to that. I hope by the time you graduate, you will have become excellent ninja. Till we meet again. With that, the four genin walked away, leaving a memorable impression on the honorable grandchildren. That's it for part 3. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.